Hey, so I've whacked together a short compilation of how I went about the Pajero build from the initial purchase to getting it roadworthy on the road right up to where we are today. All the costs quoted are in Aussie dollars and are ballpark figures of what I paid at the time. I'll tally all the costs up and whack it in at the end of the bid and let's see what she cost us roughly. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and thanks for watching either way. I thought we'll start at the front, and so we've just got the Bocar alloy bull bar. So this came with the car. I've wrapped it, coated it black, and I put the cutouts for the indicators and parkers to get it through roadworthy. The spotlights are just your King's 7-inch. The aerials, I've got the two aerials going there. The big tall one, the whip aerial, is for the AM FM, and the other short one is the 3 dBi aerial for the comms. The winch in there is just a radium, 12,000 pound, and it's got a wireless control, and I've got the solenoid in the engine bay. And probably finally up the front here, it's just the bonnet, I guess. That's also been wrapped coated, and that was wrapped coated because the clear coat, as you can see on the guards, the clear coat started to peel, so I've sanded that back and wrapped coated that. So she's a little bit dirty at the moment because we've done a few tracks already today. I'll move on to the wheels and the lift. So the wheels are a 7-inch by 15-inch by -23 offset steelies. I've just got them from a local supplier. The tyres are the Comforsa mud terrain, so these are the aggressive pattern. They're 33 by 12.5. We've also got the Asin manual locking hubs installed. I've done a brake rotor and disc pad upgrade, as well as replaced all the bearings. So the flares, so I've got the flares on here to cover up the tyres, just to give a recovery. So these are just 75mm rubber flares, and I got them from Outback Equipment. So the front lift, I've just wound the torsion bars up about 40mm, just standard torsion bars, and I've cut the rubber bump stops, and I've just got some cheapy eBay shocks in there, just with extended travel, nothing too extravagant. I am planning on getting the 25mm ball joint spacers, and I will replace the shock absorbers as well, and get some gas ones, or even get some of those foam ones. I don't know. Maybe someone can give me a bit of a tip on what sort of shocks I should get for the front. I'm looking for a bit of a stiffer ride. The rear lift is just, I've just got the Dobinsons underneath, the springs under there, if you can see them. So the blue ones, they're just the Dobinsons. They're a 3-inch lift, and to seat 150 kilo constant weight. And as far as the shocks goes, I've just recently changed them out for the Forerunner shocks. Yeah, so I used to have a pair on my old NH, and they're really good. So I've also upgraded the rear brake rotors and disc pads. So down the side steps are just your stock aluminium TJM side steps. I'd love to get a set of rock sliders to go on this. It's just a matter of finding a pair or getting a pair made. I've got underbody LEDs under there, so I've got them tucked up into the ribs. I've got that hooked into the fog lights at the rear that are useless, that nobody ever uses, so I decided to use that switch. I've got two strips sitting underneath there. They're not going to get damaged, I hope. Anyway, time will tell. So the mud flaps, the rear mud flaps. Got no mud flaps on the front, but on the rear mud flaps, so these ones here, these are the extra large Ford Ranger mud flaps. So they're a knockoff, and I bought them from Mr. Body Kits. They give me plenty of coverage around the bum there. Keeps them legal, hopefully, maybe. Exhaust. She's just a standard exhaust. So the rear, I've just got a standard tow bar, the standard rear bar there, like the Pajero rear bar, but I've just done a bit of Raptor coating on it. The reverse camera, it's tucked in there. So I've got the reverse camera there as well. The gear bag, well, what can I say about the gear bag? It just, it's a gear bag. It, yeah, it carries rubbish and wood. And the spare, I just bought that off Marketplace. I don't know, paid 70 bucks for it. But it looks like it's, well, it's roadworthy and it's legal and it stays up. So just on the body colour, it's a Mitsubishi T88. It's what they call a Moonlight Pearl Blue. But I have noticed online there's a few different variations of the T88. I really think it's model and make dependent, that coat as well. So up top, I've just got the King's roof rack. I just bought that off Marketplace as well. Got it cheap. It's the one to suit the tent. I don't use a tent on top, obviously, as you can see, but it was cheap enough, so I grabbed that. I've got the TJM high lift jack, the super cheap shovel, and it was super cheap. And the solar panel, so I've got a 240 watt solar panel I'm hoping it's 241. I'm pretty sure it is, like from memory. I got this off Cats.com, so it cost me like $90. But as you can see, it's got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bus bars in there. So it's really, it's like an A1 grade, so it's pretty good, and it works fine. That's the main thing. Yeah, look, it's cheap, but it works fine. The frame I just made up from that stuff you buy from Bunnings, the aluminium stuff with the plastic quick lock or whatever they call it in there, and just a bit of Sikaflex, and that works a treat, and I get plenty of charge out of that, and that just runs down the back there into the back of the car. So also up top here I've got the 270-degree XTM awning. She's a beauty. Like, you know, again, I've not paid top dollar for that, but I've never had any issues. Also on top I've got the 40-inch LED light bar. Got it off Marketplace pretty cheap. Got the recovery tracks from Anaconda, so I think they're the June brand. I've got the XTM shower screen awning. Sometimes we drag the portable toilet out and I use that, and also I use it with the King's 12-volt shower system there. And probably the last thing on the roof here is the 4-inch XTM work lights that I've got, and they're all wired up into the back there. Yeah, so in the back here with the 12-volt, I've just got a 30-amp DC charger. Again, off eBay, cheapy, but you know what, I've never had an issue with it. I don't use it for the solar. You can, it has got a solar input, but I use the kick-ass MPPT controller. I had that from early days, and I just choose to keep that in the car and remain to use that. I've got a lithium battery sitting underneath in this little cavity in here. It's 116 amp hour. I bought it from eBay. No, something I didn't buy from eBay. I bought that off Facebook from some place called Rolling Cart. I've got the switches here that run the work lights, and I've also got my drawers that I built myself. So these just fold out here, and I've got a little table I put on top of that. Keep all bits and pieces in here. Saucepan, condiments, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, second drawer, all my tools. I've got spare parts, I've got compressor, spare hoses, a controller if the wireless one stops working. I've got all my snatch straps in there, toolbox, all sorts of things in here. I've got oil there, all bits and bobs, jack. So I'm pretty self-sufficient, but as luck will have it, one day I'll break down and I'll need something that I don't have. That's usually what happens, isn't it? So they're my drawers. So yes, I built them myself. With all of these mods, guys, I mean, I've got videos in my catalogue. Go back and have a look at my catalogue of videos. You'll probably find build videos on all of this stuff. I've got me fridge here, paid $300 for it, and I've had an old King's fridge slide that I've split, and I've cut it in half and then narrowed it down to fit the fridge, and I've created myself a little tilt fridge in the back here that tilts down. I've got my drawers cooking. I've got a little gas barbie in there and everything like that. So the idea of this, guys, is that when I fold the back seats down, she's flat all the way through, and this can actually unpin from here, take the fridge off, unpin this, and this will flip up to the roof, and you can still sleep in it. Well, that's the idea anyway. So I've done it once and it worked fine. If it's just a quick overnighter, why not? So on the inside up front, nothing much special going on here, just your bog stock interior with the electric windows, electric mirrors, cruise control, Pioneer double-din stereo. I've got the Gator reverse camera in there, Oricom 40 channel CB, 5 watt or something like that. I've done an LED replacement on all of the 3 dash fascias. As you can see, I've got the blue going on in the cluster. I've got the engine guard going on here as well on the inside, and I've also, in my last video, you would have seen that I've now got keyless entry to the car, which sits in down behind there. It's just your standard GLX model, 4-speed auto, rear LSD. Under the bonnet, I've just got your stock 3.5 litre double overhead cam. I've got me isolator here for me second battery and the winch and the crank battery. I'm still using a kick-ass VRS. It might be a bit of overkill, but it can't hurt either. I've got the winch controller solenoid sitting up here inside the engine bay. Knock on wood, she doesn't use any water. She's got the usual valve stem seal issue, so I use a little bit of oil. She just gets topped up every now and then, and I will get to the valve stem seal, but she's nice and clean underneath. I change the oil every 5,000 to 6,000 Ks, and I use the Castrol Magnatech 10W40, as I've said in one of my previous videos. It seems to have got rid of the dreaded lifter tick as well. Yeah, so that's about it in a nutshell, guys. Apart from a few incidentals here and there, some miscellaneous stuff, and what I've got down on this little list here, that's about the majority of the build. I first purchased the vehicle probably about 2.5 to 3 years ago, so it's been that long in the making to get to where we are today. You could say it's been a labour of love. We've definitely had our ups and downs during the course of the build, but loved every minute of it. So as you can see, I've spent a bit of money, and you probably would suggest that maybe that's a bit too much. So it's only cost just on $4 to get it on the road. The larger cost has come in all the other mods and accessories that I've placed on the car. But you know what, it's been worth every cent. The enjoyment I've got out of the build itself, and the enjoyment I'm still getting in using the vehicle, you can't put a price on that. I think most people would agree.